Okay, welcome, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right. CJ, welcome, your first meeting. Yes, keep us going straight and narrow, so. All right, today is,
That seat looks a lot prettier with her there than it did Cal. I will say that.
yes, yeah, looks a lot smarter too.
And I think she can whisper softer too. Oh.
All right, today is February 22nd. This is an agenda review meeting. It's going to be held on our regular city commission meeting will be held on Monday, February 27th. If I could get Latanya Harris, our deputy city clerk, to give us a roll call, please.
Commissioner Mercer. Here. Commissioner Yates.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
Here.
Mayor Dantzler.
Here. And is Commissioner Powell on there with Zoom or?
He was trying to get in. I just spoke with him.
Okay. Commissioner Powell will join us on Zoom here momentarily. Okay. Well, we'll just go ahead and move through and let JP join in when he can. So the first four things are presentations that will. Well, actually, we have a Central Polk Park project status. We'll do that Monday night. Or will that be tonight?
That'll be Monday night. Yeah, these are just standard proclamations you're familiar with from years past. And then for tonight, we have the intersection improvement update.
I was talking about 5D.
Yeah, 5D will be just on Monday.
Monday night. Okay, 5E, we have a Cypress Gardens intersection improvement update. MJ?
I just want to give a quick update here. I think you guys are well aware of this project. It's been a long time coming. The DOT had to go through multiple bidding processes, but they got a contractor on board. They spent the last 275 days, that contractor getting as many materials as they could. So they didn't hit any delays once they start the construction process. They plan on getting the construction process started in the next couple of weeks. So just kind of putting that on everybody's brain.
All right, good deal.
So this is, I'm gonna tell you, leading into this a little bit, I had the privilege of driving Cypress Gardens Boulevard this morning. Due to a train backup, came in that way, and the fog certainly contributed to the traffic. But knowing the impact that this is going to have from the time construction starts until the time it stops, it's gonna be a mess. I don't know any other way to say it, but traffic already out that area is tough. And this is certainly gonna compound it for the next 9 months. So, we always say when we're gonna make good omelets, we break a lot of eggs, and we're gonna have a big mess for a little while, but it's gonna certainly be better once we're through it.
Are we doing both intersections at once?
Yep, so I'll kind of walk you through here. So the first intersection at First Street, we got the Chevy dealership, Chick-fil-A, Boston Market, and Amscot, just to orient yourselves. So this is what the current configuration looks like. We have a dedicated right-hand turn, a dedicated left, and then a combined left and through. So what DOT will be doing is creating 2 dedicated left-hand turns, 1 dedicated through, and then 1 dedicated right. So that'll increase the volume. But then they'll also take those lanes a lot farther back. They'll close the opening right now, Post Avenue. And that'll allow them to stage a lot more vehicles in there. Then they'll adjust the signal timing, to be able to move those vehicles through there more efficiently. Yes, yep.
Are they gonna get rid of the concrete that's in the driveway? It's on First Street there, the little medians, that.
Bullnose.
Yeah, so the medians will be modified. Yeah, they'll be different.
What's the purple lines there, sir?
The purple line, so that's we're going from, it'll be 1 lane northbound, and then it splits out to 2 lanes.
Okay.
At Post Avenue. And that's kind of how they're able to shift that lane and add the second dedicated left there, is by getting rid of one of the northbound lanes. Because the majority of traffic that feeds into that is all coming from only 1 lane, so that extra lane ends up being a little slow. And then back on over on the Highway 17 side, so you have Taco Bell on the corner, McGee Tire, Evan Fieldhouse and Conference Center, and then Salem Zero. So right now, this is what that configuration looks like. You have a dedicated left, 2 dedicated throughs, and a dedicated right. That will pick up an additional dedicated right. So you'll have two northbound turn lanes, 2 dedicated throughs, and then you'll retain that left-hand turn. And then coming from heading westbound, the current configuration, again, 1 dedicated north or 1 dedicated right, the combined through and left, and then 1 dedicated left, and you'll actually pick up 2 left-hand turn lane. So there'll be two dedicated lefts, a left and a combined through, and then and a right-hand turn to the north. So just a lot more capacity, really taking advantage of the width of Highway 17, and they'll be able to move a lot more traffic through.
I think in both those cases for those intersections, commissioners, is that if you've got right now two lanes that can carry so many cars that are making those turning movements. In this case, you're gonna get three lanes that are making that left-hand turn movement on 17, First Street. You go from 3 lanes to 4 lanes. You know, just look at any amusement park and you realize that when you can stack more people side by side and carry it deeper, and you open up those gates all at once, you move more people through it. So and MJ will show you in a minute, the timing changes on these wait times is significant.
Yeah, I think we left that part out from the earlier presentation, but in terms of phasing, I think that was kind of what you were asking about there. They'll probably start the roadway construction over on the First Street side as they start doing some of the work there to modify the signal and modify that intersection. But simultaneously, there'll be a lot happening. So early on, there'll be a lot of utility work. So all the Tico lines in that area will be going underground. So that'll be happening kind of concurrently with some of the road work starting. There's some water line relocations that'll happen along US 17 up on the Salem Bureau side. So there'll be kind of a lot happening in this corridor, all at different phases of the project. So it won't be like they'll build one whole section and then move on to the other. But there'll be a lot of stuff happening in the right of way over here, maybe some road work happening over here, and then more road work happening over here. And they'll be kind of back and forth like that over the course of about a year.
I was gonna suggest we maybe pass an ordinance for people that get on their cell phones and sit there and send emails and they don't pay attention when the light turns green. If we can maybe write them maybe $1,000 ticket or something, or more than that. That's what plugs everything up. Everybody sits there and does their Twitter feeds while they're sitting with they miss the light turning green.
I will say too, Jen Burke, the field house manager, has been in good contact with the contractor. We've shared with them the schedule of events at the field house. And they'll stay in the loop on what's happening there. They will hold their project progress meetings at the field house so that they are again within arm's reach of that facility, so that everybody can stay in tune with events that are happening, what closures are happening, and try to manage all of that as best we can.
Who's gonna field all the calls that we're gonna get? You?
Depends what
Or
they're
do you have,
related to.
or do you have like a new person in your department you want to give a little baptism by fire to or something?
We'll handle the call. But
We
Well-
still have Mr. Herr's old cell phone.
We'll just forward that to
No one
DOT.
answers it, but we still have.
Yeah.
We'll forward that right to the DOT. team.
We will be highly responsive to our citizens that have questions.
Yeah.
And then so in terms of public information, there will be a meeting that the DOT is holding at the field house on February 28th from 4 to 6 in the evening. And that'll just be an opportunity for businesses in the area, residents, anybody in the corridor that might be interested, come by and just get some additional information. DOT and we're helping with this, or reaching out to a lot of the businesses individually. I think Sandra Mansell with the DOT has been going door to door to some of those businesses to invite them to this meeting and just make them aware of the project. There'll be some mailers that'll go out. And then you guys may have even received a notice from DOT today in your email. So those are starting to go out, and then we'll do some social media work as well, as will the DOT.
You remember what you did with a hurricane pickup? You had an active website and people could see where the trucks were. Is there any way to do something like that on?
Yeah, so the DOT, they'll usually do that for big projects. And I believe that Sandra said that they'll have one of those set up that has kind of a weekly update of what's going on there. And then I think within that, they link out to what's called their roadway report. And so that's kind of like a weekly, here's all the closures that are planned, if it's going to be a nighttime closure, a daytime closure. That kind of
Maybe we could get that link to our website or something.
Yeah,
and we can direct people that way.
Absolutely.
We are going to hear about this, I'm sure.
Yeah, and there'll be some signage that starts going up in the corridor in the next couple of weeks. Probably some silt fencing. You'll start to see some construction activity happening. They won't have the whole road torn up the first week in March, but
Right.
you'll start seeing activity out there. We'll start getting questions, like you said. That's why we'll kind of bring it up together. And that's pretty much it.
I just want to reiterate, if I could, commissioners, like I said, in the timings that are improved from this, we're shaving 1.5 to 2 minutes off of wait times. These intersections, particularly on southbound First Street. that will move more traffic quickly through there. It's going to be a tremendous improvement. The queuing length extensions on Cypress Gardens Boulevard as it approaches 17, as it comes back to the east towards First Street, both of those get lengthened. Because remember that median cut that's in there today is reminiscent of when we had Peters Allen open up as an entry point to the complex. Well, that entire corridor from First Street to 17 becomes kind of a shift over of queuing lanes that both get extended. Just moves more and more traffic through there. The outcome, when it's all said and done, is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a mess while it's happening. And we know that. We're empathetic to the businesses, to the travelers. If there's a benefit that I can offer, it's that Dundee Road, which is an east-west major corridor, is wrapping up its construction right now. I drove that last night just so I could have an understanding of where they were in their final asphalt lifts. And that project, it's got to be within the next 30 to 60 days, has to be really ramping down to being fully open. And it'll be about that time that we start seeing some of the impacts within this corridor. So, it's a bit of a shift over. Unfortunately, everything from DOT suggests this is a short-term project in terms of the construction window. So we're grateful for that.
And T, you mentioned that there's some pretty significant factors. Usually when you work on intersection improvements, signal retimings, you're working in terms of seconds, right? So if you can shave 6 seconds off, 12 seconds off the wait time to be length, reducing the wait times at a cycle by over a minute is a huge improvement.
And I think it's 2.5 minutes on one of those, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I can't remember if that's in the PM or PM, but I pulled those. tables
It's in the
out.
PM on First Street South.
Last question, the little trucks that are there, it's on the corner across from Taco Bell.
Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly, do we get any of that or is that going to maintain a truck center?
I do not know.
They did a take on that.
Yeah, there's a portion of that becomes part of the project, but the truck center still retains ownership of the big portion.
It wasn't a full take,
Right.
Mr. Mayor. So they took just what they needed, and you may recall there was an awning that was out there from the old gas station that came down about a year or so ago. That was into the area that needed to be taken. They are coming probably guesstimate 10 feet inside of the existing sidewalk, and they didn't have to take the whole property. So from what we've been told, that is going to remain as some type of display site or sales site for the Kelly business.
Well, this is for Julie because they like to unload on our property. They go around the back of the side of the theater and unload all their trucks. So that's going to get worse, I suspect, because they won't have that way to pull right into there,
And we, I think being a good neighbor in that regard, when we don't have things that are happening at the complex, that's certainly, if it helps business locally, great, but we can't let that interfere with our folks going to the theater or to the pool or to.
Do we need to
basketball
formalize something
competitions.
like that? Because it's
Probably be worthwhile.
when we're
It'd
having
be-
a play or
Well, and
Or
from a
we-
liability standpoint as well.
thinking we ought to try to broach that subject because when you have a play going on there and a swim meet or something going on, it's going to create a lot of, if you got a big, huge 18-wheeler trying to unload 15 vehicles.
We can reach out and formalize something there to the extent that it's needed.
Okay.
Needed, when I say the extent, we need an agreement, it's to the extent that they need someplace to offload. Just to clarify what I'm saying.
Right. Okay, anybody else? Brian?
To meet the time frame, is this a project they're working 24 hours a day, or is it primarily heavily working on it at night? Or
There'll be a lot of night work. Kind of depends on what they're doing and where they're doing. So if they're doing work in the right of way, a lot of that'll happen during the day. If it involves lane closures, they'll try to keep more of that to the evenings. It's a lot of managing day to day out there, what's going on. But Ajax, the team that I met with, they handle a lot of big projects. They know what they're doing here. They're asking a lot of the right questions. So they seem to be planning and they've been very open to the conversations we've had about managing field house traffic, events. So as long as those conversations continue, I think that'll be good.
and is First Street, Cypress Gardens Boulevard on deck next?
First Street.
Sixth Street, sorry.
Correct, good question. So actually, we met with DOT today on that project. So looking at the portion from First Street out to Overlook, that's probably a bit farther out. But I'd say that when we met with them today, that was one of the priorities we discussed was First Street. First Street from Central Avenue North, there was a complete street project there that the DOT had funded and we've done some visioning work. And then Cypress Gardens Boulevard, First Street East to Overlook Drive.
And I misspoke, so it's Sixth Street, so from that intersection to the vitamin store is there and
Yep.
a bank is there.
So we would look at intersection improvements at Sixth Street, Eighth Street, Ninth Street,
Gotcha.
as part of that effort, First Street all the way up.
There's not many times I don't drive down that road and that traffic's backed up all the way to the high school
And
and
that's when
beyond.
we talked about with that with them, they have a resurfacing project scheduled in there, and that's where we're trying to figure out if there's a way we can work with them to combine that resurfacing project with something that involves intersection improvements, because we can't go in and just do those intersection improvements without the involvement. So that was a big focus of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, ordinance second reading, 2307.
Mr. Mayor, for the benefit of the commission, there's no changes on anything. It's in second reading. It remains the same as what you heard last month.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's
Would
pretty
you like me to
cool.
Quickly go through this consent agenda for you as well.
I'm going to that next, so yes, if you wouldn't mind.
RFQ 2251, this is something you've seen before. These are continuing services, creative services contracts that we use within Katrina Hills Department mostly. These are just the contracts coming back to you for approval. You've already approved the firms that were selected within that. The 10B is your Florida Municipal Insurance Trust meetings. Want to make sure you were aware one of those is out of state that we'll need to coordinate travel on that with you. Those are your routine meetings. The RFQ 2243, this is the CEI aspect of our logistics road, Pollard Road extension. So within that grant project and roadway development project, there's a requirement for CEI services. So this is with Kimley Horn. And it is for $1,475,817. That will run hand in hand as the project gets underway, construction commences. We still have a bit of ways to go on. 10D, this is the, you may recall that we did new water main replacement lines going from the master lift station out to plant 3. There are a handful of lift stations that are tied into the original 30-inch force main that are out there. So we have to switch them over to this new line. So this change order in the amount of $223,308.75 is to connect those lift stations to the new line. 10E is the Harmony Master Lift Station. Award of that bid to B&B Construction. This is what coincides with Harmony Development Project. This will be the second master lift station we've done in the past several years. The first one was there at Chain of Lakes. This one is just shy of $8 million and critical piece of infrastructure. We see a lot of new development in that area. So this is an award to Harmony or to B&B Underground Inc. 10F is our federal advocacy agreement with Ballard Partners. We will continue that effort, particularly as we see more projects and funding coming loose from the infrastructure bill. This is a good asset for us to have some insight on what's happening in DC and to give us guidance on where those dollars are flowing to and how we can best avail ourselves to them.
T, are we getting our money's worth with this one? In
You
your
know,
opinion?
when I look at advocacy at the federal level and at the state level, to me, they're completely different things. I think we know very well what happens at the state level and how to navigate the processes and the like. However, we do need to have advocacy efforts, lobbyists at the state level to help us push the bills, the appropriation bills that we have to carry some of the home rule issues that we're challenged with and really be an ongoing voice for us there. At the federal level, it's really about understanding the process and having the guidance to know what's coming. How do we get access to it? So much of that is behind the scenes that, small cities like Winter Haven at 55,000 people, we don't always have a good handle on that or good access to it. So I do think that we get our benefit out of this. We'll continue to evaluate that. And if it seems that we're not getting a return on that, then we'll make some decisions as we go forward. But I would recommend it, particularly with the infrastructure bill still rolling out some of their funding priorities and.
That's the answer I wanted to hear.
10G is the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee appointments. We have two new appointments for this. I think I'm saying this right, Brianne Kemp to seat one for a one-year term ending September 30th, and appointing Zach Marius. Again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, for appointment to seat four, which is a 3-year term ending in 2025. And then 10H, the ever popular Urban Forestry Advisory Board. So this board didn't do a whole lot during the COVID period, but we are, with some of the grant efforts that we have underway in projects, we need to make sure that that board is up and running at its full effectiveness. So we've got 4 reappointments, which you can see on your screen there, with Will Brown, Rodney Chauncey, Harold Williams, and Shannon Carnival. And then new applicants or new appointments would be Anna Saavedra, representing the Winter Haven Chamber, and Kathy Sutherland, who would be representing us.
That's not on our sheet.
10H.
It might be on the computer, but those names are not on our sheet that I'm seeing.
They're in the agenda in the summary packet. I don't think they're listed. Yeah, on the cover page. Yeah, they're not shown as an attachment in there, but they're within on your iPhone.
Yep, gotcha. Okay. Request resolution R 2311. This is request by 610 to vacate an unimproved 14-foot north-south right-of-way.
So this is an alley that if you know where the Tico substation is, just down the road here off Second Street, where we're doing some improvements. You can see the right of way within there. There is an active sanitary sewer gravity main within there, and our engineering and streets departments are both fine with the vacation, so long as we maintain a utility easement there. That's what our recommendation is, to go ahead and vacate that with placement of an easement.
Commissioners, any questions on that one? R 2312, request by MAS Development Corporation.
Another vacation of unimproved right of way. This one is out off, just kind of due north of the golf course, Willowbrook Golf Course. You can kind of imagine where that is, and there are no utilities within this right of way, and no objections have been received. So we're going to recommend that we vacate this one as well.
R 2314. This,
Question.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Who does the vacation go to? Tico or?
The vacation will go to the adjoining property owners. Generally, it's down the center line of whatever, in this instance of alley or road is vacated. So whoever owns the adjoining properties contiguous.
Does that answer your question? On 2314, the commission approved a state of Florida Clean Water State Revolving Fund construction loan in 2021 for $11.5 million to partially fund that force main reclaim and fiber optic interconnect project I mentioned earlier, where we're tying in those lift stations. So the city and DEP have agreed to expand that project to include the design and construction of the aforementioned Harmony Master Lift Station. In October of 21, did a resolution that changed that original loan agreement for the additional $10.9 million, same financing rate of 0%. So it brought the total loan agreement of SRF to $22.45 million. DEP has since determined that certain provisions of that loan agreement need to be further revised to include the semi-annual loan payment schedule. So that is what resolution R 2314 pertains to. In total funding amount, completion of loan agreement is expected to be $22,454,050. Biannual loan payments in the amount of $572,578 will begin on August 15th of 2025. Winter Haven Water will include that expenditure within their annual budget.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on that one? R 2315, request by KB Homes of Orlando.
This is just a release of a performance bond. Unlike some of the other ones, I will say that on this one, all the internal roads are within a 50-foot right of way that will be public, and all the water reuse and sewer utilities will be owned by the city. Stormwater is going to stay with the HOA. A lot of times when we bring these to you commissioners, the roads oftentimes are going to stay with the HOA or the developer. In this case, they will be public roads. So the roadways, water system, reuse system, wastewater system are now the point where they can be accepted by the city. So we are releasing that bond through resolution 2315.
The city won't take roads behind a gate, correct?
That's correct, because you're using, public taxpayer dollars to maintain those roads, and when you put a gate up, they're not accessible by the public, so it's kind of a conflict.
11E, R 2316.
11E, so this is, I think Commissioner Powell is actually watching us this evening via the YouTube link. I don't know if there's some trouble maybe with getting him in through the Zoom, but as I had mentioned, I think a week or so ago when we last met, Commissioner Powell is dealing with some personal health matters, and our charter has some language in there that speaks to absenteeism by commissioners and what is allowable. It also calls out that the commission can excuse absences. So in the interest of being in compliance with our charter, and in the case of Commissioner Powell's situation, this resolution, knowing that he's going to need to be absent from being in person. As I said, he's online this evening following us along. He's likely to be unable to attend in person upcoming city commission meetings for probably the next several months is what we anticipate. So to that extent, this resolution excuses him from being here in person. The thought is that where he can participate in discussion and dialogue via the Zoom link, whatever virtual technologies we have in place, he certainly would be able to do so. He would not be allowed to vote on items because he's not present to do so, but it does excuse him from being here present.
And of course, if he's able to be here, he will.
Right.
So this is just.
John, there's no way to get special dispensation for voting through Zoom for a medical, for some sort of a medical exemption of some sort.
Not that I'm aware of at the present time, Mayor.
Do we petition the governor for that, or who would we petition to maybe, I don't mind writing a letter as mayor to see if there might be a way we could potentially.
I wouldn't think the governor would entertain that kind of a request particularly. I think what I can do is I can again relook at the attorney general opinions just to verify that, there's no.
There's absolutely no acceptance in
There's-
the,
Yeah, a lot of this came about, as you may recall, during COVID, when we had, and there was, the governor did issue executive orders that excused compliance with the quorum requirements. So I'll take a further look at that.
is the governor the ultimate arbiter, or is it one of the other cabinet members maybe, or?
At the end of the day, it would be the legislature.
Okay.
Ultimately, that would enact laws that address that, and or the courts, as they would make decisional case law interpreting these matters. I don't know that the executive branch necessarily would be the branch that you would seek any
Okay.
kind of relief on those kind of things. But I'll look at the
you don't
attorney general
mind,
opinions
I just,
again, just to
seems
verify.
kind of silly that he can't vote on Zoom.
It's interesting, Mayor, that you bring that up, because I think a lot of us thought coming out of COVID, when we were able to meet virtually and conduct business in that forum, that might become an allowable fashion for local governments to carry out their legislative functions. That the water management districts operate through virtual meetings, and their enabling legislation allows for that. We don't have that. A lot of us thought that, hey, maybe coming out of COVID, we'll see this continue. But very much to the opposite. The executive orders called that to an end very quickly. I thought for sure we would see something pushed through legislation, a bill of some sort that might bring that back, but it has not to this day.
Okay, no ordinance first reading, new business. Anybody got any new business? I just wanted to bring up the golf course, see if It's been a while since we've heard from the golf course and after all those improvements that have been done out there. Is it time to get an update or do you think we should wait? Are they still in the middle of all the construction and?
Let me get with Julie and her team. You know, we have not done improvements on our side as of yet because Duke is still ongoing with theirs. But we can certainly look to see what we have as far as an update. I will tell you that we're working with John Murphy's guidance and Julie, her team and the folks at Indigo Golf of how best to position ourselves to carry out some of those improvements that we've identified that we want to have done out there. But I think as we're in the busy season right now, perhaps, certainly not for Monday, but maybe the second meeting in March, if that's feasible, or even the first meeting in April, as they are wrapping out their peak season. Be a good time to get an update from them. That would speak not only to the course, but also what kind of activity we saw through this busy season.
Well, I go back to I got spoiled with the hurricane when we had the website to kind of update us on the hurricane improvements and on the, having maybe some sort of a timeline we could refer people to for the golf course, if there's such a thing exists at some point, you know what I mean? So instead of us having to drop everything and call you or call Julie to say, hey, just go to this website, it'll tell you everything there.
One of the things I'd like to see us do going forward, and we'll have staff begin work towards this. We do an internal construction coordination effort, but it's always been more so on the internal side of how do we ourselves know what's going on with a gazillion projects, whether they're in the water department or streets or parks, wherever. One of the things that we want to do and is a goal for us is to have a better front-facing, customer-facing summary of what our projects are and where they are in the process. I know that some of MJ's staff has looked at a GIS storyboard layer that I think is probably one of the best ways to do that because it shows where it's happening. Maybe I don't know what that project is, but I drove past a construction site and it looks like it's city work. They can find it on a map or they can find it by title. And it gives them some pertinent information would be along with a point of contact. And I don't think we're far from that. Savannah Winstanley, who's one of the brilliant young minds in MJ's shop, has been working on this. I just don't know that we're ready to roll it just yet, but it will.
Who did the website for the hurricane trash?
Same
pickup?
person,
Who did?
same person, Savannah.
Savannah did?
Yep.
Well, she did a good job of that. That saved a lot of headaches.
Yes, sir. So consider that heard loud and clear and we will
Okay.
turn the heat up on that one a little bit.
I was gonna bring up the golf course as well and happy to be the liaison to the golf course if needed from the commission side. So I was out there a couple of weeks ago and before that, it had been about a month. The overgrowth that was in that canal that goes through the golf course was unbelievably clogged. That has since been all cleaned out. That is now free flowing water once again. And that helps obviously in the drainage going north, south, east, west, and the golf course, everything kind of goes that direction. The overgrowth has all been cleared out down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
You can see the lake from number 4. You can never see that in my lifetime. I've
Beautiful.
never seen it. Yeah, I mean, it's just completely changed the landscape. They've done a phenomenal job with the road or path, if you will, that the power lines will be over. That's all looks like a road back there now. They've done a great job. I will say that there's a lot of overgrowth still in a lot of the ponds that are out there, which I think can hopefully be addressed with time. But I'm excited to see the ball continue to roll. And if you look at it, I mean, we are in the height of the season right now, but I'll be out there at 7:52 a.m. Saturday morning. That was the only thing that was available on up to 11 o'clock. So it's a full tee sheet on the weekends and it is a bargain compared to other courses that are out there. I want to say it was $49, which is about half or more of what surrounding golf courses are charging. And the quality, the quality shape that the course is in far, in my opinion, exceeds a lot of the other portions around. So they're doing the right things out there and I'm excited to see that continue.
Well, that's good. That makes me feel good. That's great.
If I'm
Um,
not mistaken, I think, and Julie's coming to the podium, I think she has a standing meeting, one of which is tomorrow morning with our Indigo leadership team, so.
Right. And month after month, when we meet with the Indigo team, we hear just how particular they are with management of what they're doing out at the course and just their intention of setting the bar high. And like you said, the value for what you're getting, they're very attentive to details on what everyone else is doing and how they're intending to grow and more corner the market. And we hear the same things about how busy they are and how they're continuing to beat targets for month-to-month ratios. So we're also meeting with them and their project team on, like T. Michael said earlier, about how we can position ourselves to move forward with some of those, the bigger projects from the CP funds. And so I will be coming back to you with good news on that, and we'll get with Trune on when they can come back and do info and they can put it on the board.
Okay.
One other question I had was just because it came up, Harmony tonight. When is that road gonna be open back up that gets through there? I mean, and really, it's a multi-layer question because I'm also wondering, like, the red light that's on the boulevard, you know, what is the responsibility and timeline of these developers? Do they have to complete it before the first person moves in? What is that?
So, we've been coordinating actually very recently with the county on, Westlake Eloise, Road. It's closed right now because they're working on a roundabout. There's gonna be a roundabout at that intersection with Eloise Loop Road. That was permitted through the county. And there were a number of utilities that needed to be moved, including Tico Utilities. And they had some issues that they were working through on the design, because of some geotech, and drainage type issues that they found out there. So that was delayed a little bit. I don't have a time frame on exactly when that will be opened back up. The last I spoke to the developer was probably 2 days ago. And they thought they were very close to getting the permit from Polk County to begin construction on that roundabout. Once that roundabout is complete, that roadway will be opened back up for public travel. The completion of the rest of Westlake Eloise, if you remember from the site plan, that road is going to be completely rebuilt in a different location. It'll be a boulevard type road with landscaping, very nice. That will be developed in conjunction with phase 3 of the project, which they have just recently turned in their construction plans for phase 3. So those are currently under review by the city. I spoke with the developer and he said that they are still moving forward full speed with this project. They don't anticipate any delays for market reasons or anything like that at this point. And with respect to intersection improvements off-site, it all depends on their traffic analysis and when those trips that would require the improvement are actually permitted for construction. So when they reach a certain number of housing units, that's what would trigger the improvement to be made at certain intersections.
And so, not that this would happen, just hypothetical, and I know John loves hypothetical questions up here, but so Harmony says tomorrow, market's crashing, we don't want to build a house, we're out, we don't want to do anything else. They still have to complete that road before they exit, right?
It's my understanding that once the permit is issued from the county, they're actually, I believe this is true, getting some impact fee credits in association with that improvement. And so the county, I believe, would hold their feet to the fire to complete that road
But-
improvement.
To follow up on that, Commissioner Yates, just from a legal standpoint, there's no contractual obligation that I'm aware of that we have with the developer from the city side. The county may, as it relates to the county's impact fee credit, because they have, as you would know, an ordinance that deals with that. So I can't speak to that. I had conversations with Randy Mink, county attorney, about a number of different things, but not that. But I'm not, Eric is right. I don't think the county would be the one that would be managing that situation if that were to occur.
It's interesting because we require these developers to get performance bonds for their subdivisions. You would think in something of this magnitude that
They may have.
that could have been
They very
covered.
well may.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just,
In
Yeah.
fact, I don't know this to be the case, but I would speculate that if they're building a new road that is to be accepted by a local jurisdiction, whether the county or the city, which ultimately it will be the city once it's all built and finished out, that there would be a performance bond to make sure that it is built to the specifications and details. So I'd be, I
That's what we
personally
would
would be
do.
shocked if
Yeah.
there was not a performance bond of some sort for that roundabout.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? John, you got anything?
No, sir, not tonight. Thank you.
T, you got anything?
Just one quick note that I think you'll find of interest. I talked to Gina Williams, Winter Haven High School this afternoon, and she shared with me that buses began running to the Aviation Academy at the airport. So they are
Oh,
putting
wow.
students out there.
Wow.
They started, I believe, today. Tomorrow, all in all, they'll have 103 students that go through that campus out there. They go in like blocks. It's not the
Mhm.
same kids every day. So it's like alternating schedules out there. I believe it's next week or the week after we have our groundbreaking out there, week after. So, the actual ribbon cutting, sorry, not groundbreaking, but ribbon cutting. So they're kind of that soft opening right now. So we've finally gotten there.
Speaking of Gina, anything on the stadium? Have they gotten their money yet or where are
I've
we?
probably had 6 conversations in the past 24 hours on that very topic.
Oh,
So,
okay.
they are working through that. Was shared with me that we should be getting a memorandum of understanding from the school board, staff, district staff. That was one of the conditions within there. And, we are, as you commission had voted back last year, we're last money in. So they're raising money. Whether that's that obligation on behalf of the school is fulfilled by donors or by the district as a upfront, to help them along. We are prepared to do our share when the time is right.
All right. Mr. City Clerk, got anything?
No.
Nope. All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you. You see this?